And then, good morning, dear all participants. I'm Vignesh Raj, Assistant Manager, Technical Training and Projects in IWMA, and your host for the day. On behalf of our IWMA Office Bearers, Executive Members, Speakers, and Senior Manager, I welcome you all for IWMA 20th webinar session on cost reduction in RO operation through the process simplification using antiscalant and antifluent. Dear all participants, now I welcome our Honorable Chairman, Mr. K. Bhaskaran, to give us a welcome address. Mr. K. Bhaskaran has served as an executive member and presently the chairman of IWMA. He is also holding the position of secretary in Kakalur Industry Estate Manufacturing Association and also A6 district chairman for e-waste management in the Lions Club. Our chairman is the CEO of Aarti Industries, an electroplating unit located in Ambattur, Kakalur, and Padapai. And now, on behalf of all the participants and the speaker, now I welcome our chairman for the welcome address. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Vignesh. Sorry. Good morning to you all. Very good morning to Mr. Kabir sir. I welcome you for this Industrial Waste Management Association and Chemco Technologies.
Good morning.
Cost reduction and RO operations through the process simplification and using anti-fluent. Okay, good, very good. Actually, you are already doing very good job in industries. So once again, we are connecting with our lot more industries from Tamil Nadu actually. See, normally we have 3,000 industries in Tamil Nadu. On behalf of you, I welcome you for this today's program. I also welcome Mr. John. So welcome you, sir, both of you. Of course, participants. So I think today we have crossed almost a registration 183 something we have crossed. But as of now, participant they're lining up. So now 70, I think 70 is crossed. So as of now, this is our 20th program. So as of now, we have reached 30,000 people in this webinar. Being COVID time, so very good participants. We have to thank participants because they are been even that to Saturday. Was rightly saying Saturday is weekend. So every week Saturday we are conducting. So very good response. Actually, we had in-house also. In that we have 35 seats actually. In 10 Square Mall we have a client bed office. So we are there. We are having in-house facilities also. We were having monthly once or once in 2 months. So now after the COVID time, we have started a weekly basis. So maybe once this COVID is finished, then maybe we will have in-house trainings. So that time also we will again call you. We will try to accommodate you because we need more and more technical persons from to support the industries. Because we are, I'm also running a small scale industry electroplating unit. So I'm also want to upgrade my wastewater treatment or RO water treatment, something like that. So we want to upgrade through you or some like you. Even we have a collaboration with scientists and a lot of colleges are coming out nowadays. So particularly some even next month actually we are going to tie up with the Ramachandra Medical College also. Thanks to them. And like that, we are already doing a lot of works. And some of the scientists are with us. In fact, previously we were doing collaborated with CLRI. CLRI, we did one program successfully. It is running. So in one industry got benefit. Like that, we want more industry to be actively participate in this webinars and take their your technical inputs and implement it there. Maybe you can come through IWMA, industry can come through IWMA. So together we will do something to the environment. We have to save the environment by reducing hazardous waste. We want to reduce the hazardous waste. That is our motto. Actually, in fact, our committee members and vice chairman is there, Mr. Jagannathan. He's also from industry side, and the secretary is also from textile industry. He's Mr. Palnichami, and Mr. Suresh is there. He's you know him also. He's the best color codes. He's our treasurer. Like that, we have EC members. So all of them from industries. So as an NGO, we are working here for the IWMA, Industrial Waste Management Association. Because it was formed by the Supreme Court guidance. and Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board. So initially it was started with 7 industries. Now it has gone to 3,000 industries. So for one day, we take hazardous waste from only in Tamil Nadu. We work for only in Tamil Nadu as of now, because government has given, the Tamil Nadu government has given us some land to us. So in fact, we have floated tender, and the tender only Tamil Nadu Waste Management, TNWML has come. So now they are the service provider for us. So there only we are having landfill activities and incineration also for the Gumudipudi. We recently got another 27 acres and same Gumudipudi also. That process is going on, because already that 32-acre land is exhausted, and another 27 acres we have got. Same way we got Bargur also. We are moving to Chennai to Bargur. So maybe in and around of Bargur we can cover up. We can save fuel. Maybe that is the way we are looking at it, and government is also supporting us. In fact, Madurai we had, that is our TNWML site is there. And we are also got a recently allotment, that is 1 year back we got already allotment for Thoothukudi. Thoothukudi, because of this COVID situation, we can't move there. So once it's over, maybe we may go to Thoothukudi also, maybe next year. That is our plan actually. So apart from the landfill activities, we are focusing on co-processing activities. Actually, co-processing we want to do more. One example I can tell you. Even Ambattur Industrial Estate, one guy is doing. He's collecting gloves, each and every industries. Almost there we have 715 industries there in Ambattur Industrial Estate in Chennai. So almost they have reached 500 industries. So weekly they are collecting 15 kg, 5 kg like that waste gloves. What we do previously, we were to burning it actually. In fact, that is the thing we spoil the environment. But now they have formed association, and this guy is doing very good job. They are collecting weekly basis, cutting, shading into the, sending it to cement industry for incineration purpose. So they need a replacement of coil. So they are giving gloves has been reprocessed. So all the waste will be definitely one person will be using it. So that way you have to think. So example for thermocol, the one Madam Priyadarshini is there in Chennai. She is doing very good job. Thermocol, what we do again, we will burn it. So don't give it to Madam. She is reusing it, making saree decoration and all. So it has been reused. Fantastically, it has been reused. So she will take back your whatever the waste with the nominal cost also. That is possible. So please use that thermocol also for reusing. And some goes for plastic bottle, PET bottle. What we do again, we drink water and throw in the roadside. What will happen again? It will not get compost. So maybe you can give it to recyclers. For that, actually, in fact, we have installed one machine in Coimbatore bus stand. It's called the RVM machine. So that is, we are collecting there. And it has been we are giving it to 2-3 recyclers. In fact, one of the recycler is making t-shirt. In fact, so see this, because only thing is we have to segregate and give. The plastic bottle cap will be separated, and the wrapper will be separated, bottle will be separated. So that recycler is there. We will only give it to the recycler. So recycler will give it to the t-shirt manufacturer also. See this, how fantastically we can use waste or plastic waste and all easily can be converted into resources for someone else. So that is the way we want to work. Even hazardous waste also same. Some of the hazardous waste we are giving it to cement industry. Cement industry this year they got a target of collecting 30% of the hazardous waste. They have to use it. So that is the target they are given to all in the cement industry. Because recently, that is January, we had a meeting with the Pollution Control Board and the cement industry. Cement industry also already they are taking it. They are now 15%. They want to double that this year. So segregate and give it to them, then it will be useful for them. Otherwise, if you mix it, give it to them, it is the problem. So always segregate at source. Wherever even any kind of waste, other waste, food waste, see the food waste. Food waste, we have seen 2 years back, I have seen Mahindra World in this Chennai, we have Mahindra World. That industry state, they are entire food waste is they are converting as a biogas plant. Even Renault Nissan, they got a 1 ton of biogas plant for their staff. After the waste is coming to food waste, so again they put one. So like that, they have fantastic technologies. And today also, Mr. Kabir and Jonas is going to give a lot of knowledge to us. Do take some knowledge and do raise your question and answers after this session is over. We will have maybe 12:30 to 1 half an hour also possible according to your wish. Thank you, sir. Once again, I welcoming you for this wonderful webinar. Welcome, sir. Over to Vignesh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for addressing our participants. So without any further ado, we'll start our today's session with the introduction of our speaker, Mr. Kabir Jerat, sir, Research and the Development Partner, Chemco Technologies India Private Limited. He has involved himself about for 40 years in water science with a specific emphasis on membrane water production for its first use and reuse in 4 continents in about 4 decades. Mr. Kabir has experience in understanding variable water qualities within India and nearby countries in municipal and industrial operations, and with the most challenging water quality needs for stringent compliance, which he has offers also expertise, solution and methods for reliability and added water. It is an honor to have you in our session, sir. I welcome you on behalf of our chairman, our participants. And I would like to introduce our co-speaker of the day, Mr. Jun Sood, a technical manager, Chemco Technologies India Private Limited. Mr. Jun is a highly skilled technical specialist who initially started a career as an analytical chemist in a geothermal plant, moved on to the quality control and documentation officer of a fire extinguisher manufacturing company, then shifted is a chemical manufacturing company and dealing with bottle washing chemical as a field application supervisor and a member of research and development group. Mr. Jun is well versed with the reverse osmosis process, a proper application of polymers and water treatment chemicals for sewage and grey waters, boilers, cooling towers, chillers, heat exchangers, domestic and potable water and swimming pools. He also involved in troubleshooting on all the problem related to water treatment and maintain smooth system operation. I welcome you all both for the today's webinar session, sir. It's a great honor to have you in our session. Thank you, sir, and over to you, Kabir, sir. The screen is by you.
Good morning, gentlemen. I will share my screen. Good morning to Mr. Bhaskar on behalf of Industrial Waste Management Association, Mr. Vignesh, your management group of the NGO, panelists, attendees. I see 108, 107 people there. Thank you for your Saturday morning to spare an hour and a bit. I'm most grateful to all ladies and gentlemen attending today. It is a privilege to talk on the subject of membrane separation for municipal and wastewater this morning with all of you. To give you a little brief on Chemco, we are close to a 40-year-old company, and majority of our focus has been on membrane separation right from the early days in the 70s when SHMP and acid was the only option as an anti-scalant. And then we evolved into specific scientific chemistry and have arrived at 2020 to very advanced chemistry for this purpose. And as all water qualities and variable water qualities in different industries are not the same, each one has its individual challenge. And why I specifically mention this, to understand the fundamental philosophy of Chemco, the fashion in which we work is like a doctor and patient relationship. Each RO, from 1 cubic meter to 100,000 cubic meters, the life of the plant matters to the owner. So we recognize that, we respect that, we appreciate that. And every plant has the right to survive and give its due service life. So the importance today, I will start with, is to emphasize monitoring and data recording and management of information of your plant is very important as much as you are to your doctor. Every doctor starts with taking your basic weight, temperature, height, and then we wonder why. Similarly, every industrial unit has got a productivity rating, a capacity. We need to manage it in the same principle, like a doctor does manage its patient. So I encourage all of you to respect and appreciate if we have the basic fundamental in place, managing RO operations or any other operation in utilities becomes much easier. If you don't have traditional data, you don't have an understanding of the operation, we tend to fail and productivity can get compromised. But if we connect as a group and begin to understand that there is an opportunity, there are ways and methods, there is chemistry, which is like prescription chemistry, like medication. To each prescription is advised to a certain problem to overcome it, to sustain plant operation, with the bottom line that we should accomplish water production as close to the specification of a plant design and more. So I will begin to share a small presentation. The best way for such a subject to be discussed of cost reduction and the cost confusion, the water production and the sustainability of RO are so complexly confused in a large depending market like India that we need to untangle the confusion and put it on the paper and try to understand how to simplify it. And that is why KEMCO always encourages every end user, every OEM and O&M to understand simplification is the best approach. So just bear with me 1 second till I get my slide up. And then I will continue with that. Is my slideshow on? Can you just help me here? Is it sharing?
Yeah, continue.
Yeah, he's just next to him one day.
And now, where?
Yeah, sharing screen.
Sure.
No, this is gone here.
Yes, sir, we are able to see your slides, sir.
Oh, very good. Okay.
Yeah, we can have it in PPT mode, sir. Yeah.
Now you have that?
Yeah. Yeah, sir. Well and good, sir.
Okay. Once again, just to add, I appreciate and thank your colleague from Tamil Nadu, Mr. N. Gurumurthy, who was the champion of connecting with you and of Bright India System, who has been working together with us for over 22 years now. A very dedicated, knowledgeable professional, providing good quality of technical support in Tamil Nadu and Kerala, has done a wonderful job. We need more citizens like Gurumurthy who can do a good job and actually deliver marvelous results for sustainable operations in RO systems. There will be some slides in here which are giving an overview of what KEMCO's potential and capability in the entire sphere of cooling water and boiler water, wastewater management. But our focus will remain on RO. And like I was about to say, the best and the most conclusive way to have a satisfying discussion is an interactive one. So time and again, if anybody has a question at any point, one should ask. I encourage you to ask. it will be more productive to all the attendees.
Yes, sir. We have allowing the participants to have the interaction with you directly, sir, at the end of the session.
That is brilliant. But if anybody has a question that is related to his operation at the time, and if it's important, at any time, take 30 seconds to ask a question.
Yes, sir. I would like the participants to raise your hand if there is any question, and so that I can allow the participants.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Any part of this thing? Yeah. So this is the basic offerings of Chemco. Basically, we are more a technical service company providing solutions via chemistry and technical support and application know-how of the chemistry we produce for membrane technology. So we are virtually established in 1987, which is close to 4 decades, and we are based in various countries. And our focus majorly is in the Indian market with a large industry and people population and agriculture markets. It is expected that the water volumes requirements in the coming 15 to 25 years is going to be much more than we can afford based on today's data on the water availability. So the best approach today for the future generation is that we act now and be responsible. We are an expert company. We don't just provide the chemicals. We advise individually each plant operations, how to apply the chemistry, monitor the plant, and we extrapolate data and information with technical interaction with the data provided for further improved either operations, further improved recoveries, or deal with the problem why a plant is not sustaining. There is always good reasoning methodology in the ability to identify the root cause. If we do not attempt to identify the root cause, we are really never going to solve any problem. Because if we don't understand the problem, it is impossible to solve it. Very briefly, we cover all utilities in every single industry, from pharmaceutical ultra-pure water for injectables, quality of water, to wastewater treatment, for tertiary waste, industrial waste. We have done some marvelous work in tanneries. We have done some marvelous work in producing injections for our families and yourselves with the pharma industry and saline water. So these are the two wide extremes, and everything in between is inclusive through our technology. So this is the general brief of who we are. Anybody has any questions, we can take them at the end of the session, as Mr. Vignesh has said. So these are more general on industry. Here is a slide put together, basically one template that describes that every entry point of water, Chemco is available to help solve the utilization of water. So if you have raw water from the river or the sea or from the ground, we attempt to make it usable water, right from the raw water treatment to RO and into the cooling water system or the boiler may it be. If it's wastewater, to recycle it in any industry, in all industries, the approach has to be clearly defined and understood. Any limitations must be noted and addressed accordingly. This is who Chemco is, whether it is an RO plant, cooling water. This is the doctor-patient relationship slide, and a slide I made about 10 years ago, and I keep using it because the validity of this slide is applicable to all of us today it was in 2009. And I think in 2030, it will still be applicable with a little bit of modification if we learn a little more than to have accomplished what is covered in here. This kind of an approach basically really offers the opportunity to the plant owner to do root cause understanding if there is a problem. And by the way, the root cause does not have to be always a problem. A good cause can be a reason to sustain and succeed. So there's a brighter side to the downside. It's often that we get alerted when we have a problem, but appreciating the good work being done in sustaining plant operation is also noteworthy and must be recorded, so that in the future times, during the life of the plant, when other people get involved in managing your plant, they know if a problem occurs and if the plant is sustained, like we do. We have plants that have worked for 20 years, 15 years without problems. There is recorded data, information to refer back to historical data. And if the problem occurs down reference point to know what might have gone wrong and why, it's easier to resolve that way. So all aspects, that this is a silo where we put everything, including not just limited to the chemical, but also the knowledge, the design, the engineering, the ownership, the finance, the supply chain. Imagine you don't get your chemicals on time, you can't run your plant for 3 days. What would it impact your exact operation, which of the main objective in the industrial location? So all things have to be done in a responsible, understood manner. Recording of performance every day, 24 hours a day is very, very necessary. Here I'd like to add one thing that I have noticed in 10 years in India is often plants are designed to operate for 20 hours and off for 4 hours a day. So we find that plants operate between 8, 12, and 20 hours a day and not 24 hours. The healthy approach and the necessary approach for RO plants is to operate 24 hours a day. And this is a given. It is a non-debatable reality. Because if you don't operate the plant through the day, 24 hours, you're allowing the RO plant to be attacked with foulants, allowing the plant to degrade because of raw water quality. Yes, you do flush with permeate water, but that permeate water is expensive resource and expensive cost to produce, which is being used to just merely flush the membranes. I would encourage everyone to consider designing and operating plants 24 hours a day. Problems will exist. Solution can be sought with us, either by consulting or by chemistry or both. The beautiful thing about a problem is it's meant to occur. We are supposed to make a mistake or have overlooked something. There is no need to be troubled or alarmed with it if we have taken adequate steps to ensure that we reach out to the right people and the right support system. And we do the correct things where guidance is available by documented science. So if there is a problem, we do have a solution and a method to move forward without the trouble of being alarmed. Like a doctor and a patient relationship, response time is important. And the response time is not dependent on Chemco or your service provider. It is also incumbent upon yourself as the plant owner to take equal responsibility. If you allow a problem to persist, if you keep quiet about not resolving a problem, you are going to compound the problem by damaging your system, like any operation. RO is not exceptionally different. It is equally the same and must be attended to on given times. We have guidelines to react in a proactive manner, in a definitive manner, monitoring tools, data management, data recording. Like you have an ECG, your cardiologist would first ask you to have an ECG done and look at your cardiogram to be guided. Likewise, we as experts in RO need to have data to extrapolate it, make a report generated that looks like a cardiogram of your RO, and then we study it and understand and bring more sense to the operation so that we can understand a problem if that one exists and to overcome it. So it's an interactive participation in operations. When you need us, we are there. Today, we have learned that it is possible to work remotely on GoToMeeting and Zoom. Similarly, India is a big country. If you need technical support and we need to see each other while we talk to make ourselves more assured, it's a good thing. And in 2020, we've learned to do better things, that if I can't travel to Chennai, I can still talk to you from Delhi. And if I can come to Chennai, we can keep our laptop shut and we can sit and have a coffee and talk about the problem and solve it. Most of plants that we see in India are larger than the capacity required. There are two good things about it and two bad things about it. The good thing is that if you need a 100 cubic meter hour plant today and you build a 175 cubic meter hour plant, you're not going to be able to run it for 24 hours. The second bad thing is that if you require a 100 cubic meter plant and you build a 175 cubic meter plant, MLD, it's going to cost you double today. And if you build it 5 years down the line by your projection, it's going to cost you that much more. As we know, the cost of plants keep increasing year by year. So here is the paradox of how do you manage your CapEx and your OpEx. So the correct and the optimum method of projection to grow is to add modules rather than build a single module which is large right in the beginning and make provisions for growth, which will optimize the cost 5 years down the line rather than build it all today and keep your plant shut down for half the day. As membranes get fouled, they get scaled, there's microbial activity, there's plugging of the membranes, and the degradation in productivity, and becomes very expensive to operate the plant that way because you have to keep repeatedly cleaning or replacing the membranes. So care in CapEx and OpEx is a tricky one. The management of every plant needs to take a call on how to scale up, if I may call it, their need and not react to purchase it in advance. This is basically on the cooling tower principles, which we're not discussing. If anybody has an interest in either in cooling tower itself or in cooling tower and boiler water blow down recycle because of RO. That's why I've kept the template here, that yes, we do understand cooling water blow down and RO blow down and wastewater blow down to recycle. So if there is a need, we can address it at another time or in a question and answer later if somebody has a situation or a question. This is again typically a chart to explain what chemistry can do in saving water in very substantial magnitudes, impacting water consumption hugely. But we can talk about it another day, another time. This is again to do with cooling water. We come to RO chemistry here. Typically, what is an anti-scalant and how does it differentiate to an anti-foulant? We see a lot of chemistry data and information sheets claiming anti-scalant and anti-foulant for the same product. Technically, in the English language and in science, to describe a product, it is not incorrect. But for you to understand as a user or an advisor to your client or to your management, typically anti-scalant is for solubilized minerals and salts in the water naturally in all sources. Anti-foulants are for the insoluble particle fouling, which are organic and inorganic in nature, which are not understood. And as I've stated here, the particulate size can be 0.1 to 0.005 micron, which is not visible to the naked eye. So you could look at a glass of water in front of you. Typically, your feed water can look, if you can see my glass of water, as clean as that, and yet you will wonder why your plant is going to foul up. And that's how clean 0.005 micron water is going to look, almost drinkable. So the function of an anti-foulant is basically and essentially is designed, and it's a unique product, unique chemistry by understanding, and very successfully implemented by Chemco, is an anti-deposition chemical that does not allow particles that slip despite your 1 micron cartridge filter and your ultrafiltration. We find there is slip of tiny particles that tinier than sand, like particles that slip through and they go and plug the membranes. And that's why you have the fouling and degradation in the membrane performance. So typically, if you have wastewater or you have water from the river and certain sources where there's natural organic or inorganic particulate fouling that slips through, which cannot be handled by the pre-treatment, we typically recommend the use of anti-foulant. Here, I will talk a little commercial for a minute. The reason I feel the need to talk a little commercial a bit, because here we're talking about two products. When a single product, which is the traditional anti-scalant, seems expensive, there's a price variation is very wide depending on who's supplying it and what you're getting for it. Nobody knows in reality what they're getting in their drum. Only performance can reveal what they're getting inside the drum of chemical they have paid for. I can make claims like I'm making one today. I can state experiences and facts, but it's the only fact that is your plant will tell the truth, whether it performs or it won't perform. So we need to know what are the limiting factors. We need to know the quality of water and the consistency of the quality of water. I have been involved in projects, for example, on a 800 megawatt power plant, river water, surface water as the feed. The power plant was not commissioned because of the RO not being able to commission. Primarily, and the only single reason the OEM would not commission that power plant RO is it was not part of the declared specification. At the time of commissioning, there was some sand found in the boiler house, and they detected 3 ppm of colloidal silica. I will just verify this. 3 ppm of colloidal silica in Kurutini, right? Okay. 3 ppm of colloidal silica. And a small aspect like that was delaying a massive investment from being commissioned and benefiting the society. In a situation like that, the easiest and the quickest way, the remedy for the time, for the moment, is to implement the injection of antifoulant. Anything in colloidal in nature will be addressed by an antifoulant. An antiscalant cannot do that job. So the plant could have been commissioned if there was understanding, if there was knowledge, and if the people and the engineers knew about the possibility of not deferring the startup of the power station. So likewise, you could have biological load, you can have colloidal silica in a textile mill, for example, in the waste recycle, or anything that is particulate that passes through can be addressed with an antifoulant. There's a cost attached to it. First, the anti-scalant is expensive. Then the antifoulant is twice as expensive. How do you justify this? How do you react to something like that? It's very simple. We are reacting to prices of technology and products to be used in a given circumstances. Our starting point should not be the chemicals per se, if it meets a certain technology and standard, which does the job. The starting point in such situations should be the water production. If you have a plant designed for 100 per hour, then it should produce 98 to 100. If it is producing 70, you gentlemen are professionals who know what the value of 20 or 30% reduction in water production means to you. It's very expensive. So if you go backwards rather than forwards, instead of starting your costs from your pre-cartridge filter and your pre-treatment, start with water production. The cost of water per cubic meter, you will find strange numbers coming in front of you the minute you start producing in lower volumes. And particularly being a forum today brought out to all of us with the Industrial Waste Management Association, I would focus on wastewater. Wastewater brings a lot of impediments and challenges to us. Fortunately, in a country like India, we have every single thinkable industry, from pharma waste to tannery waste. These are two extreme qualities of water qualities to handle through membrane separation and recover water. So if we have the approach to design the correct volume, run the plants for 24 hours, have the right prescription chemistry, the right kind of antifoulant. There's a variety of antifoulants, a variety of antiscalants. But that is not the question of the variety. What is most suited to the operation, that is important. So if anybody has questions on this particular slide at the end, I will encourage you to make your notes and ask of any functions of any clarifications? Because this would be interesting to the entire forum to benefit from, to understand the differentiation of antiscalants and antifoulants. I will ask my colleague, he has prepared this template here on RO chemistry, Mr. June Sotsot, to elaborate on this slide in a deeper sense for the benefit of all attendees today.
You mute your microphone, sir.
No, I have to.
Your
Sir,
Is that okay now?
yeah, now it's okay.
sir, Kabir sir, you can also mute your volume, sir.
Yeah, now I think it's okay.
Yeah, now it is fine, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Basically, would like to discuss more on the slide, sir. The slide.
Because you are handling the.
Oh, but it went back. Sorry.
Okay. So, go back to sir today. Okay. So basically, in this template, this is just to give you the understanding on how Chemco deals with the problem in the RO processes, comparing the traditional treatment and the capability of Chemco products. Typical example is on the calcium carbonate, which is generally present in most of the water. The traditional treatment is to acidify it, either by adding sulfuric acid or hydrochloric acid to bring down the LSI value. Now, in our case, our capability is eliminate dosing of acid. First is the product that we have can manage to control the calcium carbonate scales build up, and it is applicable in a very wide range. You can imagine from pH of 5 to pH of 10. Next is the iron and manganese in the RO feed. The traditional treatment used is green sand. Now, in our case, the antiscalant alone can already manage to handle the iron and manganese even at greater than 9 ppm. Next is silica. Silica, first is we need to identify and establish the quantity between the reactive and non-reactive, colloidal and reactive. The traditional treatment being done in most of the industries is to increase the pH by adding lime, sometimes ion exchange. Now, in our case, we were successfully handled silica for more than 280. Now we are trying to push more the capability by handling the silica of more than 400 ppm in the reject. Next is the calcium sulfate. Basically, calcium sulfate is one of the most problematic component in the RO system. It builds very hard scales, and it is very difficult to manage. Again, traditional treatment is by use of lime and ion exchange, while in our case, we can handle more than 400% of the saturation limit. We have some plant where the calcium level in the RO feed is more than 2,500, 3,000 ppm, and sulfate level with more than 3,000 ppm. Yes, we were able to manage it successfully. Next is the strontium sulfate. Strontium basically is not common in most of the ROs. But again, in this case, we have the capability to handle possibility of strontium sulfate buildup by just the antiscalant. It can control more than 71% of the saturation limit. Barium sulfate also is another problematic scales that can be occur in RO membranes. Though it is not much common, but then again, we have the capability to handle it even the 40 times of the saturation limit. The same with the calcium fluoride. Again, this is the fluoride also is not so common in the raw water. Perhaps in the recycled water, where in the process somebody will be using fluoride. We have also the capability to handle this. The most concern is the colloidal matter, especially in the wastewater recycling RO, where colloidal matter can be either organic, inorganic, and sometimes even carry over of pre-treatment chemicals, especially those that is made of metal compound like polyaluminum chloride, ferric chloride. So carry over of those pre-treatment chemicals normally observed in the RO membranes. Yes, despite of having UF, microfiltration, and additional pre-treatment mechanism, it can still very much visible in the RO membrane. So in this case, to handle the colloidal matter, we have the antifoulant, which was explained earlier by Mr. Cabrera. Next, sir. Yeah, you can proceed, sir.
What I would like you to say is about sludge generation at one point.
Yeah. And okay, another thing which is the main concern is the sludge generation that we have seen in many industries where wastewater recycled RO are installed. Handling the sludge generation is one of the major concern. First is handling it and disposing it. And just to be able to comply with the pollution control board, pollution the norms of the pollution control board. Okay, proceed, sir.
Yeah, I will just add since you are the fundamental organization, not just organizing but handling the plight of waste, if I may, that when you do lime soda softening, for each ton of chemical used, you generate 1 ton of waste, and you need landfill for burial of this sludge. So by elimination of lime soda softening, you are actually eliminating the need for landfill and creating a greater amount of barren land, or besides just the cost, but landfill is sad. It's unfortunately not necessary to do that. It's unfortunate if you have to do that. We have the chemistry, the ability, and it can be eliminated very, very easily, but with close monitoring. In sincerity, as you need to be a specialist doctor paying more attention to a critical patient. Similarly, if you have a tannery waste or a pharma waste or any other waste where has critical water quality in the feed to the RO, we have to pay that much more attention and be more responsible by data management and operations being monitored closely together with the engineers who are responsible and ourselves. The advantage with good chemistry and strong operation is no matter the size of the plant, there is always opportunity to increase recovery incrementally, even by 1% and 5%. It can make that much of a difference. Those potential advantages exist, which perhaps has not been included during design and installation of a RO. So for example, if you have a 10-year-old plant and you are able to bring the efficiency up to design and you have a desire to consider enhancing the recovery as an opportunity, that is also discussable, explorable, and doable in most cases. Needless to say that the more we clean membranes, the more the harsher cleaning chemicals damage the performance of the membranes. Typically, every time a membrane is cleaned, the response to the clean is good, but it's a decline each time, and the performance of membrane over time degrades to be replaced. So the benefit of good chemical approach to membrane treatment is to enhance the life of the membrane with all practices that are suitably good for the membrane, including 24-hour operation, including avoidance of cleaning, including elimination of acid, as acid adds to sulfates in the water quality to the RO. We encourage every plant to try and avoid the need for acid, at least explore, in case you feel compelled, at least explore the possibility that you do not require hydrochloric and sulfuric acid in the feed water. Additionally to if you have sulfuric and hydrochloric acid, you also have corrosion attacks in your plant environment. You have safety, health, and the total environmental impact on your operation and surroundings to the people's health. So there are many, many good considerations to be sincere about elimination of acid. Here, typically, we have a cutout membrane from Tamil Nadu. So this is your local membrane that has been used in Tamil Nadu. It's not from somewhere else in the world. And as you can see, the multi-layered foulants. June, do you want to express your experience on this one for the better benefit of the audience? Because you're the one who cut the membrane open. You're the best man to speak.
Okay, just to share with you my experience with this very particular RO membranes. We received complaint from the end user about the feed pressure increase, delta P increase, production decline And basically, just to give you the idea, this is from the wastewater recycled RO also. Then, on the initial discussion, we explained that it is very much possible of that fouling is causing the main issue. But their argument was they have UF, so tendency of fouling will be very minimal, or it is almost nil. So just to make everything clear, I have requested the in charge of the RO process if we can take one membrane, cut it open, and see what is the real condition of the membranes. So we have done, we cut it open, and this is what we have found. The in charge of the RO also could not believe that this much foulant has been built up in the RO membranes, because according to them, they have a very good pre-treatment. They are having feed water turbidity of less than 1, SDI less than 3. So technically, there should be no foulant that could occur in the RO membranes. But again, despite of those, we have seen this. So having UF, possibility of fouling up the membrane is still there. And depending on the gravity of the situation, foulant can develop in 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months, depending on the foulant carryover in the RO feed. So we have done a basic analysis or basic experiment on the foulant. We tried to dissolve it in the acidic medium, the acidic media, whether it can be dissolved, trying to figure out whether there are some scales built up. But we have found it is not reacting with acid. So we tried with alkaline solution. Somehow it is getting dispersed. So from those basic experiment that we have done, we can initially say that the foulant is more on organic matter, and it can be either a combination of biological and other organic component that is passing through the UF. Okay, sir. Again, this is the membrane leaf on the same RO membrane, just for you to get the idea. And perhaps at this time, some of you will ask how it become possible despite of having UF and microinfiltration before the RO. And I also treated with chemicals and anti-scalant. That feelings basically is not, it's not only from your side, because we ourselves also, when we open up the membrane leaf and have seen this, we also could not believe. But when we saw it physically in front of our eye, then we were convinced that yes, fouling really happened despite of UF and microfilter before the RO.
There's somebody, Santosh, has raised his hand. He wants to ask a question.
We'll check that outside. Yeah. I think there is more slides, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. In this picture, basically, this is the sulfate buildup we have encountered in one of the RO membranes. Again, this is also taken in Tamil Nadu only. In the picture, you will see plenty of accumulated scales. and it is really a big disaster if, I mean, in the beginning where it was not properly handled. This is again taken on the same RO plant where the sulfate scales build up, accumulated in the end cap of the vessel. Yeah. Okay, sir.
So here we have covered the membrane chemistry highlights and the salient points that are necessary for each one of us in the group to understand, recognize, and question. I see somebody's hand up. So post the RO, it is now predominantly the fun and challenge that is now more prevalent after the excitement of the RO plants in wastewater management has become the evaporator. Compliance is a government law. Operations is a personal responsibility. I think this is a new definition I just thought of as I was looking at my slide, that compliance is only going to get stricter. The need to comply by rule of law is going to be enforced more heavily and stronger on the industrial. The sooner we recognize it and address it, the better off we are. If you ask me a simple question, do you have an answer to all the problems? My answer is no. To be honest and fair, I do not have the answer right now. But we have enough experience to deal with evaporators to a great extent with very high TDS, lower temperatures, and higher temperatures, depending on the need of the operations, and to be able to either recover salt or recover water and salt to be used back in the industry. Every industrial waste from a stream of industry will differ in its quality of water for this purpose on the reject of the RO. Therefore, what we do have is the ability to understand each individual need and develop a strategy with chemistry to enhance and sustain the operations of an evaporator. Would that be correct, Joe?
Yeah.
Correct. So a tailor-made solution, primarily addressing this, the scientific needs of a water quality to ensure we can address the operations and make the evaporator work without the need for cleaning, or enhance or extend the cleaning between operations. And that is a starting point where success can be monitored again in like an RO. And for example, if you are cleaning once a week, then you go to cleaning once in 2 weeks, then once in a month, and so on to once in a quarter to once in a year. So that would be our basic and typical approach, what we would expect from ourselves to do for you in your project. Needless to say that again, the cost of water and the energy bill is very, very critical here. So it has to be commercially be viable from the point of the cost of energy and the water that is recovered, and above all is the compliance. From our side, we are happy to have committed to the hour, and then the question and answer as directed by Mr. Vignesh for the forum. We will be happy to take questions. And before I say I've done with my presentation and we're ready for the question and answer session, I have put together what we believe is the maximum challenges in the RO feed waters, which already exist in the industry and in Tamil Nadu specifically, which we have seen. So we've listed these down as iron, silica, sulfate, calcium, magnesium. So, and organic, inorganic particulate is where the difference also comes from us, is that we have the anti-foulant to address this issue.
Thank you for the presentation, sir.